So we were discussing about the .NET framework and its fundamentals in the previous class. How framework provides the better security while providing the best code access security features and some integrated authentication mechanisms, which we are going to learn in ASP.NET anyway. Then cryptography libraries, all these are supported uh, so that whenever you are creating any .NET application, you have already security in place. So that's what the basic aim of having the framework in your projects. So then it actually simplifies the development also. Uh, as we have discussed, like it was created the component based development initially. So the completely it eliminates comp plumbing. So that means the wrappers one has to write for getting access of some C++ codes are taken care of by the .NET framework. So earlier, while creating a wrapper for complex components, suppose if we were talking about some 2000 era, like 2001, 2000, or some 1998 time of development, you have more millions of complex components, and to use those components for your program, first of all, we have to go through with several steps. So they are like, first of all, you have to register that component in your uh, machine. Then you have to identify the GUIDs, because components are identified by their GUIDs, globally unique identifiers actually. So one component cannot be resemble with a second component because their GUIDs are completely different. So then some interface definition language files have to be created so that whoever is the client part which is accessing the complex, okay, so what kind of information it can get and what are the features of that particular component, all these are actually embedded in IDL files. So in that way, the registration of the then GUIDs identification, the IDL files provisioning, then H results, unknown interfacing writing, add reference, release, co-create instance. So this is the final step of creating the object. So after creating all these steps, you have to write in your code by calling a method, so that component creating instance is getting invoked. So in that way, it is having so many steps, and which was difficult across different languages. Suppose you are having the access from Java, then it may be easier for you, but from accessing from another language, you will be having difficulties for creating the interfaces, maybe having the difficulties for using the H results. So these are like hash key maps in the Windows operating system. So in that way, every kind of difficulties are there, but as this .NET framework takes care of all these from your from the developer's point of view, you don't have to worry about the registration, you don't have to worry about the GUIDs declaration, then interfacing, then instance creating. Without doing all these, they can be simply connected and can be used in an automated way with few lines of code. So in that way, it is actually simplifying the development. Okay, so what we are achieving is, even now also you can take the already some stable components which are usable across the internet, and they can be connected, but you don't have to write much of the code only to get that particular feature. So they have been simplified in such a way you are concentrating only on your logic, not the component plumbing. Okay, so the component plumbing is taken care of by the .NET framework, um, instead of doing that particular job by the developers. So thereby we have the very simplified development environment, even though you are writing some complex code by using the complex components. Okay. Then common type system and type definition will ensure that you are writing a common code across some different platforms. You are not like only that can be worked in the .NET framework. When you are accessing some third party libraries, they are not that much type safe. So in that way, there is no distinction. everything that you are accessing from the .NET will be ensured like you are working in a common type system environment. Then it enables clean object-oriented programming. So classes, interfaces, constructors, all these are actually part of the object-oriented programming fundamentals. So they can be used as usual. So without any further without using without extending them with any further explanation. Then cross-language inheritance can also be achieved. Cross-language inheritance means one code file is there which is written in C++ by some senior developer and he left the organization. Now your company is actually working in VB.NET currently, and that particular library which was written in C++, that class is offering so many functionalities which you want to have in your derived class, because you don't want to write the code again and again. Okay, so what you can do is you can directly inherit from that C# code, so that your VB.NET code is actually inheriting all the capabilities written over there. Understood? So in that way, the cross-language inheritance, how it can be possible? Because it is offered because of the cross-language compatibility. So as the entire system is language independent, you write in any language, you can take at least you can take a few languages also, not only Java, PHP, J#, JScript. All these language functionalities can be derived, they can be overridden, and they can be used in any way in your ultimate project. Okay, so in that way enables clean object-oriented programming without any obstacles of language barriers. Then built-in interoperability with COM, with native Win32 style DLLs, you are actually providing best interoperability and simplifying the deployment. So this is for the sake of the development. Okay, what we have seen is the simplified development environment, because all these are there, so that's why your development is an easier affair in the Visual Studio. And finally, when you want to deploy your application and to manage your application, also it offers so many advantages. First one is zero impact install. Zero impact means if any of you have had a VB6 kind of projects, जैसे 15-20 साल पहले करते थे VB6 का projects रहते थे, so they were very popular in those days before onset of the websites and internet era. So before that, everything normally was a Windows application. Okay, so Windows setup, forms based application, and in those times, suppose you have installed one application in the Windows, then providing the second version of the same application is not possible that much easily. And suppose you want to run two different kinds of setups for a same project. Okay, one is for the simple users and second one is for the paid users, but the setup is only deferred in their functionalities, but the project is single. In those cases, side-by-side execution was also not possible in those days. Okay, so side-by-side execution was not possible. Then zero impact installation मतलब एक बार आप इंस्टॉल करने के बाद कंपोनेंट्स को अपडेट करना या रीवर्जनिंग करके प्रोजेक्ट को रीइंस्टॉल करना, so it will be having the overall impact on the machine. So those were the complications in those days. But with this .NET approach, simplified deployment has been given. Zero impact installation means you can have the application in a given folder, and that entire application dependencies are there in that given folder in the format of DLLs. No more HResults and DLL references have to be made from the Windows System 32 DLLs. So thereby the impact is pretty much reduced. Okay, so your application in general do not tamper the Windows operating system, and your application will be running from your given folder only, and it has all the dependencies in that given folder only. It doesn't have to look up in the Windows Server 32 folder or some any other C drive folders, because earlier the setups have to be created in that way. Then side-by-side execution is also possible. multiple versions of the same component can be coexisted in a single given machine. So that means you can have the project with numerous versions running parallelly side by side without conflicting by each other. So that can also be possible. So this is a very great advantage for the developers, because otherwise every time before installation of the second version, first of all they have to remove the earlier version, then only the next version can be done for the further installation. So in that way the problems have been entirely eliminated, which were a great hinder block for if you consider from 15 to 20 years back. Then assemblies contain the dependency information. How it is containing the different dependency information, that also we have seen. Whenever the assembly is being created, it is having the metadata along with the IL. So the metadata is having all the information of the intermediate library, intermediate language, and it says what are the classes, their names, their interfaces, and how they are connected, what are the dependencies. So everything is connected in such a way, so all the information is available in the metadata. So while running your application, the entire path and dependencies will be tracked easily by the runtime CLR, and accordingly the best running will be ensured by the .NET framework. तो आपके लिए जीरो इम्पैक्ट इंस्टॉलेशन simplified deployment के थ्रू दे रहा है, साइड बाय साइड एग्जीक्यूशन दे रहा है, even though if you are working multiple versioning of your projects, one is for the client, one is for the admin, one is for the some paid users, even though you are having some multiple setups, the things will be very easier to manipulate and manage. Then assemblies automatically they take care of whatever the dependencies that you have in your projects. Then framework, language and tools, all these are interconnected, which we have seen with this architecture. So everything is interdependent, and the connecting mechanism is this Visual Studio.NET. So once you open the Visual Studio.NET, everything we can be able to give the instructions to the base classes, and you can write some components in the given for the given platforms, whether it can be ASP.NET or Windows Forms, and you can write whatever the preferred language you want to have for your program. So all these are possible only because the Visual Studio is safely handling from your side. And finally, these instructions are getting sent to the operating systems so that to provide the native code. And it also offers the unifying programming model. Unifying programming model means there is a Windows API kernel. Okay, Windows API means the Windows server or any other server basically written by using the C++ files. Okay, so whatever the operating system that we see today, if you take the Linux or Windows operating system, basically the operating instructions are generally created by using the C or C++ languages. Why they have been taken so far in that way is because C++ is very efficient to run the device drivers and to actually interact with your motherboard and to give the best instructions, so that the actual operating system kernels are being generated by using the C++. But as you are working in a different language, and suppose you want to have your VB forms creation, or sometimes you may be writing some ASP web applications, writing the code for web pages, or sometimes you may be having the Windows mobile applications, or sometimes MFC ATL. Okay, so these kind of different platforms or different projects you want to work in as per the requirements. But the common format is, in whatever the platform that you take, ultimately they are actually being driven by the Windows API. So that means your .NET framework ensures that you take any kind of architecture, they are ultimately getting connected to the Windows API. So by that way only you can interact with the Windows operating system, then your work is being done. Suppose you have written a socket programming, you want to write some socket programming. So socket programming you write in C# language or in VB language, but basically the socket programming is being driven by the Windows API, which is written in C++. So how this particular C# code is able to do the communication of this window API is, so the .NET framework ensures that whatever the calls to a particular functionality are being connected to their connected to their Windows API accordingly, and they are being driven by the C++ APIs. Okay, so in that way, whatever you write for your program, they are getting translated into the Windows API format, so that thereby you are running your cameras, you are running your network, or you are opening some device for your program. So all these are possible only because of this simplifying and unified programming model that is given by the .NET framework. Okay, so this way, so .NET framework is actually communicating with these platforms that you are writing in your code, and ultimately uh, they are two-way communicating with this Windows API, and your programming is running on that basis. So it offers consistent API availability regardless of language and programming model. For example, suppose we do not have any .NET framework or any other framework, and you want to open a device from your computer. Suppose you want to interact with the speaker of the computer, or suppose you want to interact with the camera of your laptop, or anything like that. Suppose you want to access the Bluetooth of your computer. So all these possibilities without any .NET framework or any other supported libraries are not possible. They are only possible when you are directly interacting with the Windows API code in this way. And you can see the screenshot of Windows API. I think nobody can easily understand hwind main, create windwork 0, main class, main window, ws overlap window, something something. So this code goes for a couple of lines, and nothing is actually understandable with this way of Windows API coding that has been seen here. Okay, so we cannot easily understand, and we cannot easily identify what is actually being done from this code. It is not at all easier, but this code is, when you see the from a .NET framework, now it is wrapped in 2 to 3 lines of code. So this 10 lines of code is actually getting wrapped in 2 to 3 lines of code, and now everybody can understand what this particular what this particular API code is actually doing. So this Windows API code is nothing but simply opening a form which is having the text as main window. This main window form is getting instantiated. So dim form as new form. So this form is getting instantiated, and it is being displayed on your operating system. So you can see how much of code is actually reduced. So when you write this much of code, the probability of so the problem of writing this much of code without any bugs is very, very difficult, because nobody is actually able to write the code in C++, and C++ is already having so many issues like memory leaks and some pointer kind of problems, and all these are actually taken care of by the Windows API programmers. They are very sophisticated programmers, and who develop only the operating systems. Okay, so they are not the normal programmers, and we cannot be in such a way. So normal college pass out, or some having some less than 4 to 5 years experience person cannot write Windows API programs. Okay, so Windows APIs are severely dealt by the very, very superior programmers, and whenever we try to write these kind of code structures, definitely we are going to implicate some bugs and errors into that program. So that's why what we are doing is, we are actually safely calling the Windows API from an external framework library, which takes care of all the problems of this Windows API in a neat and clean way, so that you are not at all bothered about the actual kernel level implementations. तो एक्चुअली कर्नल लेवल पे क्या क्या प्रॉब्लम्स होते हैं वो सब उसका escape कैसे करना है, and we are not that much sophisticated also in the C++ kernel level programming from framework. And we can see from this example, with these 3 lines of code, what we are achieving is nothing but the Windows API 10 lines of code. Understood? So that's why this makes the simplified development, and ultimately what this .NET framework is doing is actually interacting with the Windows API, and accordingly your work is being done. And whatever you are instructing to that API is in completely object-oriented format. Okay, you are going to open a form, but for that it will be created in a neat way as an object in the heap, and after that particular work is done, this object is going to be de-referred, and after a couple of scans, that particular deallocated memory is going to be like reallocated to the memory. So all these complete object-oriented like programming is we are doing from the .NET framework, but underlying Windows API is not the OOPS compliant. Okay. So then factored and extensible. This framework is not a black box. Any .NET class is available for you to extend through inheritance. Okay. So nothing is sealed here. Nothing is invisible. Anybody who wants to see the complete logic and functionality of the base class, they can open up and they can extend, they can do the manipulations, and they can take the advantage of the inheritance, so that they are writing their own interfaces for their projects. So it gives much headroom for the developers, so that they can extend the capabilities of the .NET framework to much higher levels. Okay, so nothing is invisible, and everything is open, and you can see, and you can track down what you want to have from that particular base class, and accordingly you can provide some extending functionalities for your projects. Plug and play components and subsystems. You can write the plug and play components and subsystems from your projects if you are using the .NET framework. And when we see the framework library, it is again segregated into different components. Even though all these are actually part of the library, the libraries are again segregated into some different technologies. One is like ASP.NET, and one is with Windows Forms, and one library is dedicatedly given for ADO.NET. This is for dealing with the databases, and one is for the base class library, which is interacting with all the libraries provided through the framework. So in that way, that is neatly segregated as per the functionalities and as per the target applications that you want to generate for your programs. So framework, Windows Forms are there still. When you want to create a setup for only the single machine, generally you try to write the program on Windows Forms, and it offers very rapid application development. All the .NET programs offers this RAD functionality, so they can be created rapidly with then rich set of controls are provided out of box. You have to simply pick and your functionality will be done. Only what you have to concentrate is on the business logic. Okay, so ready-madely you will be getting the components, you will be getting the forms, and the interfaces can be quickly created in less than few minutes, and the developers need to concentrate on their business logic only. And all the components are data aware. That means if you populate some combo box, the combo box knows whether there is a data in that and what are the values associated with it and how they can be sorted and how they can be looked up. All this information is inbuilt when you take any .NET framework component. So they can be said like they are data aware components. Okay. So when you are attaching some data to that, the component knows what exactly is that in that loaded component, and they can be looked up, they can be sorted, they can be referred with the values that are associated with it. Then ActiveX support is given. ActiveX are like plugins that were there since the 1995-97. So the support is extended to this framework also. Then licensing, accessibility, printing support, Unicode support, UI inheritance, all these are the features of the project which you are going for creating any Windows Forms. Similarly, ASP.NET also having some functionality, some features. It offers platform services that allow to program web applications and web services with any .NET language it actually supports. So you can write your web applications and web services by taking any of the preferred language of yours. Then ASP.NET uses .NET languages to generate HTML pages, and HTML page is targeted to the capabilities of the requesting browser. So this is the case with any of the server-side programming scripts that are generally being used. If you take PHP, if you take JSP, then ColdFusion, Python, Ruby, any technology that you take, normally what happens is that is basically scripted on the server side, and ultimately whenever the server is requested from a client, this client is the client is being sent with a response which is in the format of HTML. So the servers, what they do, the servers simply convert the incoming request which is in the some specific technology that can be ASP.NET or in PHP. The server side instructions it is getting understood, then the web server processes that information, and accordingly the HTML responses are being generated, and those responses are sent out to the requestee, the client browser. Okay, so that's why any technology that you take, ultimately it offers the HTML only to the browsers. Okay, so ASP.NET program is compiled into a .NET class, and it is cached for the first time, and all the subsequent calls used are from the cached version. So this is there because we have the concept of JIT, just-in-time compilation. So whenever you are going to call the first time, whenever you are going to call for the first time it is going to be compiled, and that output is being saved in the cache, and for all the subsequent requests, the same page request or the same form request is being sent out from the cache. So that is how it actually works. So why it is being so? Because it offers much more scalability, it offers much faster responses for the user, and the quicker response, the quicker the program will run, and the quicker will get the user satisfied. So in that way, every .NET program which is compiled is ultimately going to be saved in the cache for the first time, and that's why if you feel a lag for the first time, it is natural, but for all the subsequent calls, it will be a breeze. Then we have this ASP.NET page composition. On the server side, what we are going to take is one is .aspx page. This is the user interface page. That means you are going to draw some, you are going to draw the forms here. You are going to put some buttons, radio buttons, combos, then some images, some text, anything that you want to show to the user. So all these are being embedded in this ASPX page, and along with this page, one code file will be there that is in the format of .vb or .cs extension. Okay, so this is called as code behind file. So what this code behind file does, for this user interface, you are going to write some logic. Okay, suppose there is a registration form in this page. What that registration form should do, that means whether to capture the first name, whether to capture the email address, and to submit that information, where to submit, all this particular logic is being implemented in the code behind file. And code behind files are different for your particular language. If you are writing from VB, the code behind file is .vb extension. If you are writing from C#, the code behind file is .cs. If you are taking C++, then it can be something else. So in that way, it depends on completely what your programming language for your UI page. Then on the server side, whenever any request for this particular page comes, it compiles for the first time if it is not there in the compiled format previously. So for the first time compilation being done, you can see the plus here, UI plus code behind is equal to this particular HTML response. So in that way, the response is being generated, and that response is being sent to the request IP address. There, HTML plus CSS plus JavaScript are individually getting parsed from the browser capabilities, and accordingly your web page is actually rendered. Okay, so there also the client side also the browser will render the HTML, which is completely markup, the CSS, which is for the styles, and JavaScript for the interactivity or any animation that you want to provide. All these are combined at the time of the loading, and after loading, the rendered web page will be visualized to the user. So in that way, the server side techniques are different, and the client side techniques are something different. On the client side, you don't have to do anything. The client side automatically takes care of the browsers. So all the browsers are nowadays mostly compatible with the W3C regulation. So one may get some slight deviation from the output, which you can see from one of the used browser. So they may be different only in some 5 to 10%. Otherwise, mostly you will get the same response across all the browsers. Then ASP.NET supports multiple languages. It also supports like the Windows operating this forms-based application development. Similarly is the case with the ASP.NET. It also supports multiple languages. That means you can create one page in VB and another page in C# without any problems. And at the compile time, all those information is actually compiled to a unique binary, which do not understand the language differences. Then it improved performance. Before this ASP.NET, one ASP core technology was also there that was called as plain ASP, and when you compare with that, it offers much better performance. Then it is control based event driven execution model. Event driven execution model means until unless the user not reacting on the form, the things will not get triggered. Okay, so that means whether user is selecting something or whether he is typing something in the text box, or he is clicking on the button, or he is selecting from the radio button control. So all these are the events that a user can put some using that he can put some information to that page, and that information is being handled by the server side using the ASP.NET instructions, and accordingly this event driven execution model is what we are having from the ASP.NET. So it is very easier to create with the functionalities also. You just have to target some events, like whether it is a page load or it is a page unload, pre-render, pre-init. So many methods are there. All these are default methods, and simply you have to open that method and write your own code. Okay, so in that way, event-driven execution model offers better performance and better interaction for the programmers also. So it will be a clean separation of the logic where exactly one has to provide for a particular functionality. अगर पेज लोड में अगर आपको कंट्रीज लोड करना है तो you have to write that in the page load only, and accordingly the things will get popped up while the page is getting loaded. Then it is more productive. It is cleanly encapsulated, and this clean cut of code is also there. Suppose anybody of you have worked on the PHP. So PHP and some Cold Fusion, all these languages generally generally do not support clean separation of the logic from the UI. That means whenever you are creating a web page, you have to take the body, then some tags, along with mixing of the PHP code blocks, then again opening with your input type, then again with your PHP code blocks. In that way, the separation of the business logic is not there when you have the UI interface creation for your web pages. So what is the problem with that? Suppose you are not a good designer. So normally good designers will be having the CSS, HTML, JavaScript on the HTML pages, and in those pages you have to embed your PHP code blocks or some Python code blocks. But what is the problem when this particular page is getting remodified with some good design, okay, with some enhanced designing from the page, normally what happens, it again goes to the designer, and designers will rarely give attention to the PHP code blocks, and they can simply cut away with the code. And these are the general problems that are associated whenever we are having some enhancements for your web pages. So that is always there. So your code is pretty much like unsafe when you're opening for any extensions. So in that way, the UI is not at all separable in those technologies, but whereas in ASP.NET, it is having a completely dedicated code behind file where you have to concentrate only on the code only, on the business logic only, and where this UI is existing in a different page. So they are not at all combined, they are being combined at the time of the compilation only. So the chances of and the probability of getting overwritten or some skipping of some code or deleting some portions of the code will not be there in this ASP.NET. So that is one of the best advantage when you compare in general, with other existing technologies. So the clean separation of the UI plus with this code behind logic is not at all there in other offering technologies. So that is one part of very handy way of implementing the code for the developers. They only have to open the .vvr.cs code files only. They don't have to bother about the .aspx code files. Easier for tools to generate. You might have seen somewhere like you're simply dragging the button or dropping it somewhere. It easily creates with that interfaces. So that is there already. Then improved handling of the state of information. So state in any web application, state management is the trickiest one, and we will see in the future topics how it is being handled in a very efficient manner. Okay. Then ASP.NET Web Services, we can write web services also, not only the web applications, but for that we have to depend on some dependent technologies like DDisco, WSDL. SOAP, you already know what is a SOAP. SOAP is a network format. Then what is this WSDL? Web Services Description Language. And so these technologies we need to use, and it is less than 5 minutes affair to create a web service in the ASP.NET. In less than 5 minutes, you can create your own service and you can deploy on the remote hosting server so that any information can be looked up by the targeting clients. And we don't have that in syllabus, so that's why we are not concentrating on that, but we can achieve that easily. And ADO.NET is concentrating on the database functionalities, and you can see data is actually written in the format of XML, and XML is completely supporting transparently, even though you are migrating the data from one database to another database, or you are simply taking the data in the serialization format. Everywhere the XML is transparently supported. And ultimately the Visual Studio is actually a set of highly productive tools and having good debugging features, and anybody who wants to write an application in .NET generally takes with this Visual Studio.NET, but it is not mandatory. You can take any of your choice editing environment, but Visual Studio generally caters much to the developers. So normally any company who is dealing with the Microsoft technologies go for this VS.NET only. So some .NET Framework classes and libraries we can see here. Some are targeted for system.web, that means for the ASP.NET, and some are targeted for database, system.data. Some are targeted for only for the system. You can see system.io, system.net, system.security. So all these are the .NET Framework libraries which you have to interact whenever you are going to program. Okay, so some base frameworks are there. You can see and understand what they actually do. These are only some sample framework classes that are being defined here, and you can go through them. For the data, system.data, OLEDB, SQL client, which we will discuss when this ADO.NET comes. Okay, so for the time being, we do not concentrate on this. because all these are somewhere come in the future slides. Then ASP.NET is having the combination of the UI plus caching, security, services. So all these are the classes which are offering for this ASP.NET technology. And for the Windows, again, some different libraries are supported. .NET platform is language neutral. Then third party is actually building on top of the .NET framework. You can see APL, COBOL, Delphi, Pascal, Eiffel, Haskell, ML, Oberon, Perl, Python, Scheme, Smalltalk. All these are actually compatible for the .NET framework. That means you know the Smalltalk language, you can write a .NET application. Similarly, if you know the Delphi language, you can write a .NET application. If you know the Python, you can write the .NET application. So that is the case with the language integration. So some of the languages that are being seen here, many are still extending their support for this compatibility on the .NET platform, and you can also have your own language which you want to create if you are ever going to develop with a own combiner. If you are complying to the CTS and CLS, then your language can also be ported onto the .NET framework. So with that, we came to the end of this particular framework fundamentals. And finally, you can see what are the versions that are offering as per with unique framework version, like .NET 2 framework version offers WinForms, ADO.NET, 3.0 offers WPF, WCF, WF, and then ADO.NET LinkU. So in that way, every version is actually having some additional features or additional libraries. So with that, we have concluded this .NET framework, because mostly